What do I understand about God, um, the universe, and spirit and spirituality? What I understand about God is that He is, firstly, He's my Father. Isn't like my father, my real father. Um, his name is Elohim, and his counterpart is Elohe, and he's also referred to as the universe, and maybe some people might say spirit. I understand him as being the beginning. That is, he is where we all begin, where everything in existence begin. And what that means is that his origin himself, that is where he begins himself, is he began as a just darkness. And as darkness, he would have been floating and just being, not necessarily knowing or having any idea or thought of himself. And eventually, this darkness gained some form of consciousness, where out of that darkness came a thought of, who am I? Who am I? Like, he could feel himself, he could feel his existence. He could sense in that darkness that he wasn't just darkness. There was a feel of him. There was something that existed in that darkness. And he therefore asked the question, who am I? And I understand that after he asked the question, where am I? How did I get here? But then what happens in that darkness, when he starts asking these questions, starts feeling himself, starts sensing that I might be floating, I might be darkness, I might not see anything, but I can feel something. I can feel a presence. I can feel that I'm a presence. There's something existing in this darkness. That is, he was having a thought. And one of those thoughts was, who was he? Who am I? In that thought process, eventually he creates energy. He starts creating energy as he starts asking questions. And when he kept asking himself, who am I? That there was a spark in that darkness, a spark of light. And as he continued asking that question or many other questions, that light grew bigger and bigger. So within that darkness, there was some light, some energy. The darkness is also energy. However, in order for him to realize himself, he asked himself as a darkness a question or questions. And as he asked those questions, so he became a light. There's a I think it's Jesus Christ who says, as a man thinks, so he becomes. What you think of, how you think or what you think of is what you become. I now realize that that is possibly where he gets it from as well, in terms of creation. That saying has been said by many other spiritual gurus. I think Buddha also said something similar. Maybe even Krishna. So as he asked, that is God himself, as he asked those questions, who am I? So he became. He became something. At first, it was a light out of darkness. He started defining himself out of that darkness as a light, as some energy different to darkness. Because now, how I understand this is that the consciousness of asking yourself who you are, or whatever question that you ask yourself, and by so doing you're trying to find an answer. By so doing, you generate more energy. By so doing, you emit some sort of lightness about your questioning of your presence, your existence. By so doing, you vibrate higher than the darkness that you're in, and therefore you become a something else other than darkness. In this instance, the next form for him to exist in was a light, because he generated first a thought, he generated first a sense of feeling himself floating, or feeling something floating. And as it floats, it floats, it floats, it started seeing itself as, I float here and I float here. So there's something, there's something, there's something. Eventually, he sees, or he feels, he senses that sense that I believe is what they call sixth sense. Therefore comes up. And he eventually notices himself, and he's like, but I feel something. I feel myself. I can feel that there's something. This is not just, what I'm not able to see, because as much as I'm not able to see, I'm able to feel. I'm able to sense something about myself. So he continues living that way. Eventually, as he's asking questions about himself, who am I? Where am I? How did I get here? So he became. A much more, perhaps where the word enlightened, sort of like a light, an enlightened consciousness begins there, where you're enlightening the environment with your consciousness. He enlightened himself in consciousness. He created himself in consciousness by becoming a light in that darkness. And my understanding is that he moves around like that, just having fun on his own, by himself. And eventually, I'm actually getting a very different view now, because um, I'm seeing myself actually existing in that way as well, as a light, as exactly how Father explained it to me. This is how he became. So eventually, he lives a long life like that, but then he started feeling loneliness, so to speak. Like also asking himself, if there's someone like me, if I can be here and exist and be conscious about my existence, it means there must be other people, or there must be other beings existing just like me. I wonder where they are. And as he asked himself, one day he had an idea of asking a question: is there anyone out there? He didn't get any response. And he continued to ask that question and he never got response. However, one day he asked that question again, and this day someone answered back. And he said, I am here. Father was like, okay, so where are you? He's like, I am here as well. And Father's like, I've been looking for someone. I've been here the whole time and there was no one. I thought there was no one, but how did you get here? The guy says something like, I've always been here. Anyway, they basically what we call, or what people would call rendezvous together in this existence game at that time with this second person or second being. Eventually, somewhere they start calling each other brother. How that consciousness comes about, I'm not really sure. So Father had a brother, and they lived for a while like that. Eventually they like, I think it was his brother's like, what if there's others? Have you ever wondered if there's others? Father's like, I asked, but you were the only one who answered. I can't believe I'm remembering this. And his brother said, maybe we should try again and ask the same question. Maybe there will be somebody. If I could be there, there's a chance that there could be another person as well, or another being. I keep saying person. It's not a bad thing, but I'm just saying like there could be another being out there. So they decided that they want to go and call in another being and find out if there is other beings. And they started asking, hello, hello, is there anyone else? Is there anyone there? Hello, hello. I think he said it took them 3 days or so, or like not exactly 3 days, but it didn't take a long time for the other person to respond, or the other being, so to speak. Sorry, I'm used to speaking in persons, but yeah. And the other being responded like didn't take long. And my theory is it's possibly because of now Father and his first brother who had more energy to ask that question and had more energy to imagine someone else answering, the third person or the third being. Wow, so there's three people. And I think they also decided that there could be others as well. So this being's like, I've been here the whole time. I've never seen anyone else. I'm glad that there's others. They're like, okay, for so far we found just the three of us, so there must be more. And my understanding is they didn't take a long time to ask for the fourth one, came through. And when the fourth one came through as well, it was like there's four of them. That is the original thinker or the original thought, and the three other, I would call them, I actually think I see them as a duplication of Father. That is, it's the duplication of the energy that thought first, created itself again and again and again, 3 times more. So he quadrupled himself in essence, because that energy that was talking to him, that was talking back at him, it's actually a same energy as him. The imagination of imagining that there could be somebody else who's a little bit different than him, and another being who's got a little bit, like all these three individuals, all those three beings had a little bit of a difference from him as an original. Like the other one was probably quirky, the other one was probably quiet, the other one was probably more thoughtful. But it is the same energy. They come from the same thought, they come from the same darkness. Father asking a question of, is there anyone else there? It's a thought. It became a energy, and it generated a idea of someone out there, and therefore it was therefore created or brought into his creation as another light. And the two of them did the same thing for the third one by both asking the same questions, that is there anyone else there? And as they did that, another light came through. It's like, I am here. And so they three of them did the same thing with the fourth light. So this is how I understand Father's origin. And I believe they lived like that for a very long time, until a time when they wanted to create themselves in a form. That is, they all wondered, what would it be like if they could see themselves? Not as light floating in a darkness, but if they could actually see themselves. However, I think before they did that, they actually created a fifth being. Yes, they created the fifth being after a very long time, which was created for the purpose of mother. That is, the mother God was created. All the four energies, all the three energies that came after Father, they're also gods. They are an extension of him. So is Mother. Mother is also extension of him. So I remember now that when he showed me his existence with his brothers, they started building a warehouse, not a warehouse, but a kind of a mainframe type of a place where they just had, like, they wanted to be able to gather as much energy as possible and store it and see if they cannot create more people, more beings. I think that was the case. And Mother was there as well. So I have two different views of this mainframe Rex. The first one is not a mainframe rack. It's like a wall, not even a wall, like a row of what can I call it? I've seen something like that in an exchange, in a telecoms exchange room, and I remember them saying to me because we came in when I was working for a telecommunications company. That was one of the oldest uh, technologies for any sort of like an interchange kind of a thing, or the most basic form of mainframe type of a rack. You could do many other things there. They had telecoms lines, they had data lines, they had all kinds of lines there. So this is them existing in that format. So basically, Father, when we say spirit, we mean that kind of a darkness, light coming out of a darkness. That's how I'm understanding it. That is a spirit. That is you and your spirit. That light that comes out of that darkness is called spirit. It's just light. But that spirit is as a result of someone asking a question of, is there anyone else there? Is there any other person out there? You know, but the person asking that question would basically be a creator of the next and the next life. So that's how I understand God. How I understand the universe. So in terms of God, there are, like I said, his brothers are also gods, and mother is also a god. However, the four of them were created from him with his energy, because he's the one who created the first thought, who created that first question. And from that question, the other questions created other questions. And from other questions, they also created more questions. That is, they created more lights. As he asked for himself to be in existence, he created another being by asking for that being to be created. It's almost like he was wishing very hard to have somebody else respond to him when he said, is there anyone else? And after a very long time, he says someone responded. But it wasn't someone responding, it was him responding. It was a part of him responding. It was him as energy responding, as in, like, yeah, I'm answering as if there is someone else. So he imagined that there would be someone else out there, and therefore that someone else was created. And so happened with the other three. How I understand the universe is that because of him being who he is, in a sense of, he had the first thought to create. Therefore, he has the most energy to create other beings. That is, and he has a intelligence. He has an intelligence of creating other beings. That is, he had the intelligence to be able to say, as he lived, and maybe as not intelligent as he is now, there's a part where after a very long time he's asking himself, but what if there's someone else out there? And I'm just busy roaming around here lonely myself on myself. That intelligence of thinking there could be someone else. Let me ask. How am I going to find out if there's anyone else there? Okay, let me go and roam around like I used to roam around. Then maybe I'll find someone, and there's no one there. But to have an intelligence of saying, let me put out a word out there. Let me put out a shout out and say, is there anyone else there? Right? And the intelligence of actually imagining someone else responding. He is the one who's got the intelligence. That is, as he has this intelligence of thinking, oh, there could be someone else. Oh, there could be this. Oh, there could be that. Even if it was the next being was created from a combination of his intelligence and his brother's intelligence, right? The first brother, to create the third brother. It is still, in essence, all his energy, because the first brother is created from his energy. That is, as he duplicates himself or triples himself or quadruples himself, the main energy grows. He grows as he creates, and therefore he's called God the Creator. I'm right. I can hear the that revving means I'm right. Thank you, Father. I have to remember this because I'm saying this from memory when Father shared this with me of his existence. And this is why he is called God the Creator, because he created himself first, and from creating himself, he then created the next beings, the next brother, his own brother, his first brother, and him and his first brother created the second brother, which is the third being, and they created the fourth brother, which is the fourth being, and then they created the fifth being, which was a woman, which was a mother. And she was the first to be created with a purpose. Why is she the first one to be created with a purpose? So, when Father was creating the first one, the purpose that he never really defined the purpose. He only said, is there anyone else there? Right? So, the purpose of the first brother was created from a question of, is there anyone else there? He wasn't created from a question of, I wanted to be someone out there who has long straight hair, or who looks like a specific type of shape, who has certain types of body parts. No, there wasn't that way. It was just, is there anyone else? And he came through with an answer. So he created these beings, the second being, the third being, and the fourth being, without any distinctive purpose, so as to say, I created them because of I wanted them to be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, when it came to mother, the four of them decided that mother should have a purpose. Why? Is because for father to maintain the environment that they were in, they started doing other things. Or father, not they, father started doing other things, started creating things, started creating, if, like I say, if you've been into in a telecoms exchange or an ICT type of exchange or mainframe room, he started creating things like that. He started growing intelligently and started building things, creating things to preserve power, to preserve data, to preserve all these things that he was creating, to store them somewhere, to store energy somewhere, because of he had been living alone for such a long time that he now has people that, or beings that are with him, and he wanted to find a way of making it happen, that is making it become even more if possible. And because of he was dealing with all of this work and it was becoming too much, the four of them decided that they needed to create another person. And they said four of them started growing as well in intelligence. It wasn't just father who was growing in intelligence. His other beingness, or his other brothers, also had become intelligent. That is, they also grew in power as they asked more questions. Okay, Elohim, what do you think? Look, they didn't ask Elohim. They were just brother, what do you think about this and that? What if we did this? As they helped him to grow, they also grew and they became more powerful. They generated more ideas in that way. Now, when they came to a point that now they were creating so much, and Father needed help to maintain the systems, because he created actually systems. As rudimentary as they looked from my vision, they were still innovative and intelligent. So it's about to start raining now. I wonder if this recording will have a so what was I saying? So they had to create the fifth being mother. They decided that they wanted this being to have a purpose. Why was that? Because the other three that Father created, them being created for a simple reason of, is there anyone else there? They didn't know how to do anything else except for existing. So this is where they came up with purpose, that the next time they create, or Father creates something, he must create something with a purpose. So Father said, okay, but then now they came up with what they said as well was that perhaps this person or this being needs to be able to help you with the things that you need to keep up with, like what Father was working on. He, things were like when he fix here, it will break there, and he needed someone to do, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he needed Mother to do certain things. He needed the next person, the next being, to come and help him with certain things. And I think it was more like a maintenance kind of a thing, but not exactly. um and he needed someone to come up with, I guess, some help him also come up with ideas of how they could put things together. And they needed a companion for him as well, because now Elohim, at some stage, um, there's a time where they created, I see him moving around that exchange type of area. I forgot what they call this rack, man. It's not even a rack, it's a frame. It's just a frame. He would move around there as spirit. But there's a time when he creates a physical form. And but the angle that I'm getting is actually an angle later in their existence. However, just going back, it's that the idea was to create a being which could serve certain purposes and help Father be a companion, and so Mother was designed and was therefore created by Father to say, this being will have this and this and this and that. And I think at that time, Father had learned to create using code. He had learned to create using code, because everything else that he was creating before Mother came, like the exchange, the mainframes, and all those things that he was creating, they were created from a code perspective. He made them become into being by writing code. When I say writing code, I mean an actual program. um so it's like this: God, in his purest form, is spirit. In his purest form, he's just energy. Energy, just energy. Be it dark, be it not exactly dark, like grayish type of, darkish type of, depending on how much light is around that darkness, it will become grayer and grayer and grayer and more light. And there's also a gray area between the light and the darkness. So he's just energy, right? However, that energy had to create itself to a point where it had to become a being and to evolve in such a way that in order for him to create faster and better, he had to learn how to, or have intelligence and innovation enough to create something that would allow him more control of how he created. And he came up with a program. He wrote a program that is a computer program. So who is God? What is God? Not who is God. We know who he is, but what is he? Before anything else, he's energy. He's the highest energy form. And then he is able to create or be in a state of spirit being. And he's able to be in a format of what I would say, a being which is still spirit or physical, however, it has a form of some kind. But what the rest of us are, so I'm not when I'm talking about Father with the 4 or the 5, that's a different story. But the rest of us are created from a program perspective. That is, in order for him to create us, he started writing programs. He started writing programs to say, you will have this, you will, and I do believe that Mother's the first one. Or is it Mother the first one? Because Mother, I see her actually existing. No, Mother is not the first one. I think Uncle Olman is the first one. Mother does exist in a spirit form first. I don't see her as a physical being first. I see her as a spirit first. So she was created in a thought process kind of a thing. She was thought into being. And the rest of us were thought into being, however, we were thought of by a program format kind of a thought of. Father just had an idea that I want to create a child like me who has this gifts and that gifts and whatever. And that child is created by writing a code or a program that child will have to spiritually, that not spiritually, will have to exist in. Now that program has two types of existence, or not just two types. I'm not sure, but you can exist in a spirit format and you can exist in a physical format. So he would write a program for you to be able to be in spirit and to also be able to be in physical. I think everybody has that kind of a format because he's also in his basic format does exist as a spirit, energy and spirit at the same time. So your spirit is basically your energy. It's the energy assigned to you, the light that is assigned to you. So they created Mother with a purpose, and Mother came into being, and the rest of us were created from a point of view of writing a program. So in order for them to, at some stage they get to a point, this is where I don't have the details, but Father gives me that detail to show me who he is, how he became to be, how every other being became to be, the first 6 of them. Because the 6th one that they create is Uncle Olman. I call him Uncle Olman, but he's actually Uncle Devil. That is the devil. Devil. That's whose name. Who he's created as the 6th being after Mother. He was also created for a purpose. That is, his job was to do maintenance in the, I think his job was to do maintenance in the physical. Mother's job is to do maintenance in the spiritual. Father's job is a creator. Oh my goodness. So father as a creator would create, and the other three brothers as existence, as just being existence, they are called ancestors. They're just our ancestors, part of our ancestors. However, they provide, they are like father. They are the same people as father. It's the same person. And then they are all individuals, but what I'm saying is they are more like twin flame kind of a thing with father. And then mother is a counterpart. That is, he is been given an energy source of being able to do certain things. Mother is referred to, father is referred as to being a creator. Mother is referred to as being an architect. And Uncle Oldman was supposed to be sort of like a maintenance guy, but on the physical. And yeah, so he was created with a purpose as well. Later as well, way later than after Mother, he was created with a purpose. This is when after they've created worlds with beings and all kinds of things that they created. After a while, it became too much work for mother and father to handle, and they decided that they wanted to create another being who will take care of maintenance on the physical layers or physical environment. And this is where Uncle Omen had to be created. But he was created to be a fragmentation tool, if I understand correctly. So why am I talking code? Why am I talking programming? Is because the universe is also another program. The universe as you know it, as you see it, everything that you see is a program, right? But this program was created from God himself. He wrote an extension of, or not an extension, but I could say an extension of him. He wrote some other because he created his brothers and his wife, or his sister. It's actually his sister. And they created another brother. So they're all brothers and sisters. However, mother and father are counterparts to each other as well. So mother and father married his sister. You want to have a fit about it? Go ahead. Anyway, why programming? The universe is also a program. It has all kinds of programmings into it that is installed in the universe. There are other planets, there are other, um, you know, many other things, planets, beings, all kinds of beings, and all other things that exist, stars and suns and moons and all of those things. It's a program. This is where Father is creating using a program. But this program is an operating system kind of a program. That is, he created an extension of himself as a universe, called it the universe. However, this universe, everything else is stored within the universe. That is, or stored or created within the universe. So he created an encompass a bigger program. Within that program, there is other various programs within it. There's worlds, there's moons, there's stars, there's suns, there's beings, and what and what and what. So when we say he's the universe, we say he's the universe because of that universe program is running on his energy. It's his energy. It's him. It's within him. When I say it's within him, I mean if you were to see God in your form, that is in your human form, as he stands there, within that form, that whole form is actually the universe itself. Him as he is, he's the universe in himself. And all the worlds and what beings and what are within him. So he's housing all of us. and everything else that he's created, universes and multiverses and inside of him. We are all part of him. When they say he's part of us and we are part of him, it means we make up who he is and he makes up who we are. His energy, in order for us to be able to exist and live and have the power, access to power, the kind of power that would allow us to live on a planet, to be on a planet, to exist in a planet, to move in a planet, to breathe in a planet, to eat and have all these ideas in the planet. He installed us into him. He installed everything into him. He's carrying everything into him. So this is how he's able to share his energy with everybody. Else, you wouldn't be able to exist like that. So basically, he updates himself, he upgrades himself by creating a program within himself that says, okay, I will now have a child in this planet that would do 1, 2, 3. So that's what the universe means. It means a being, be it that he has a form like us, or he is water format, or he is a mountain, or seen as a mainframe rack, because he used to be, before they had a frame of human, like with arms, these body parts, arms, legs, head, eyes, and whatnot. They, before that, they existed as just light, and then they moved into trying to house certain energy on those mainframe, like I'm saying, when they were father was trying to create, I think, more of them or something. And then they moved from that to be creating racks, just like mainframe racks. They were existing in that form. It was a form, like a shape of some kind. And then eventually they evolved from a form of a mainframe rack to a form of a human type of being, like how we look. Humanoid, they call it human or whatever. And this is where now, when they say we are built in his image, he basically took the image that he had and wrote a program to say, I'm going to write a program to have human people who look like me to live in a planet called Earth. And then I'm going to have another. Remember, Father has many forms. Because of his energy like that, he's able to assume many forms. He can take a form of an animal. He can take a form of a... People have this belief that reptilians are coming from somewhere else. They were created by him as well. They also, every alien being that you know is also within, created within him. This is why all these aliens know him. If he wasn't their God, they wouldn't know who he is. Although they might have like local gods like us, where we would have, the Indian gods, I think it's Hindu gods and Egyptian gods and all kinds of gods which are out there. Aztec gods and all those gods. They also know that those gods, the main god, the creator himself, is Elohim. And his counterpart is Elohe, and he's got 3 brothers. I don't believe my father gave me their names. I think he said they are ancestors. I don't know if they gave each other names. All I remember hearing them call each other was brother, brother, sister, brother, brother. So they were brothers. Or brother number 1, brother number 2, something like that. Now that's who God is, or who I understand God to be. And how I understand the universe to be is that it's still the same God. Be it in a mainframe format or in a humanoid type of format, within him, if he took out, let me put it this way, if he took off his shirt, you would see his body having Not that he looks like that every day, but he is able to show me where the universe is. By the way, I have the same thing as him. He's able to show me, he was able to show me to go inside of myself so that I can see the universe, one universe become many universes, become many multiverses, become many until it forms me, my whole body, and I am just pure light. He's the same. Well, not exactly. He's more than that. But yeah, that's who I understand God is and what I understand the universe to be. And in order for you to be in the physical, the universe to be in the universe, spirit as well, spirituality, energy, power, and whatever exists within him, in the spirit world as well. However, there's a physical format of that universe, which is an operating system. So Father is like a big computer, right, with an operating system kind of application, right? And in that operating system kind of application, he's got called the universe, right? And he's got many other universes, by the way. It's not just our universe. He's got many other universes. Within those universes, he would have planets. Within those planets, he would have people as well, or beings who live in those planets. So that's what we mean when they say the universe. So to be honest, he's still God. He's more God than he is the universe. The universe is part him. It's an extension of him, just like his brothers are an extension of him, and just like his wife is an extension of him. His counterpart, my mother, is an extension of him. And I am not sure, but I believe we, as well as his children, are an extension of him as well. The rest of the creations that he does it under a folder called Universe, so and so. In that folder, he would put different, you see it. You see a program, a operating system program. You see explorers. You see program files. You see all the programs which are installed under that program file. You see Earth program, Earth folder. You go into the Earth folder. Okay, this is another story for another day. What happened to Earth? But he's the universe in a sense of the universe is more like an extension of him. Although people and myself as well have been referring to him as the universe, I now understand as I'm going through this meditation, or this is how I'm meditating, by the way. I now understand why or who he really is. That the universe, I had that gray area there, like, how is he a universe? But now that I'm thinking about it and meditating on it, I'm realizing that no, everything else is an extension of him. And everything else, every extension of him has other extensions of him within them. That is, if you are a universe and you have earth, is still an extension of, it's an extension of it's a program within the universe, but it's also an extension of Father, or God the Creator. And the universe is an application that he writes, or he wrote, that has a functionality of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he's got multi universes which he also has written programs for, which exist, and he would have whatever it is that he has in there. So yeah, that's what I understand about the universe. What I understand about the spirit, like I said, is spirit is more him existing, or you and I existing in our energy format. In our energy format. Spirituality now, I'm starting to understand, because I always said I don't understand what spirituality is, but now I'm seeing that spirit is something else. It's me existing in my own, or you, or Father, or anyone existing in their own format, in an energy format. You remember when I said Father, being in darkness and light coming out of that darkness, that is spirit. That darkness that emanates when he's keeping having thoughts, it light, bigger, that is your spirit. That's where your energy is. This is where, when you say you've got energy, you've got power, that's that power, that's that spirit. Now, spirituality, I'm starting to believe, this is when I'm going to define it for myself, and I'm saying spirituality is, as they write you as a program, they write you for a purpose, that you are going to have this purpose. You're going to be a program called Earth, or in our instance, not called Earth. You're going to be a program called so and so, and your function as a program would be to, let's say in my instance, I'm a defragmentation tool. That is my spirit. That is my spirituality. It's my spirit and my spirituality. I have a spirit of a of a defragmentation functionality. Spirituality, I suppose, is when you find out what your spirit is. When you're in the when you're living in the physical, right? That is earth, and you wake up to remember what you were created for. That is your spirit. What is your core? What is your spirit? What is your power? What are you here for? What is your core? What is your realness before you become physical? There is a spirit that was created as you. That is that program that they wrote you in and said, this program is a defragmentation tool. I hold a spirit of a defragmentation tool. And this is why you can have spirits of, like they would say, you have a spirit of a panther or something like that. Who knows? Because there's going to be many panthers, right? Me, unfortunately, I cannot be duplicated. I don't know what that means exactly yet. I know that I cannot have a twin. That is a twin flame. There are other programs which cannot be duplicated because of they are big programs. It's not conducive to have them as big in one system or in one program. So I'm a defragmentation tool. My spirit is defragmentation. However, my spirituality is me realizing that part about me. That is me finding out, waking up on this planet, on this physical environment, to remember that I may be human here. I may have a different job. However, my spirit is of a defragmentation too. That is, my job is to unpack and pack this environment or this world together until it is in a solid form. So my function as a defragmentation tool is to, basically, when I run, my job is to fix the system, that is, blow up the system, take it apart, take all the components apart, and then go back and build each and every building block together so that the block fits. It doesn't have any gaps in it. And as I do that, I will build blocks for each and every individual, and I will build blocks for each and every other program out there, which is not necessarily humans, but something that is existing or supposed to be existing in this environment. By doing so, I am helping I am cleaning up the environment, and by cleaning up the environment, the system will run better. I am one of those that came here on a mission. There are others who came with me. There is antivirus who came with me. There is debugger who came with me, my two counterparts. And there are others that I found already existing here, which are also counterparts and soulmates, which is storage, recycle bin, and troubleshooter. So yes, we are programs. We are fundamentally programs. People cannot imagine, how can I be a program? Father is innovative and intelligent enough to write a program that looks like that flesh you have in the physical, that looks like that sun in the sky in the physical, that looks like that moon, the stars in the physical, the soil on the ground, the flowers, the mountains, the rivers. He evolved for however long he evolved from, to have that kind of intelligence to build programs that look like what we see on a day-to-day basis in terms of Earth itself, the way Earth works, the way, like now it's raining. It's a program. Rain is a program. And we create other things as well. When we have innovation and we create other things, we writing programs. It's all about, it's, you look at it and you think it's a physical thing, but it's actually a program. The physical that you see, it's a program. You just write it in a different way. That is, you bend it with your arm if it's steel, or you bend it with your tools if it's steel. You I don't know, you do whatever it is if you have to do it with your hands. However, you can make that, create it, that into existence by a simple calling an existing program into being. If you had the power, if you had the same energy as creator energy, right, or some energy as creator energy, because you can't have the same energy as creator energy, but if you had energy enough to be able to create a cup, for instance, you could, by just calling, if you knew what the program was to create the cup, right? This is where people have knowledge of the secrets of how to create a cup. I could create, when I came here, I could create a cup of coffee for myself. And that was switched off because of I needed to blend into this environment until such time that I awaken. So I knew how to just imagine a program or imagine a cup of coffee and it will just appear in front of me. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh, she sounds cuckoo. So be it. I don't give a shit. It is what it is. You're gonna wake up to it one day or today or whenever. Take your time. Don't force it into your system. It's I don't know, probably it will be easy for some people to absorb, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm also still coming into terms with certain way of calling things, certain way of understanding things. This is my recording of my meditation. I meditate this way. I've tried meditating in the hum kind of way. I can only get so far. And the environment that I'm in hasn't been conducive to that type of meditation. So I can only meditate out loud and thinking out loud, because that way it blocks out the other noise. Case in point, the rain that is raining right now, it only starts sometimes when I'm meditating something very important and they want to basically disrupt me. So this is why I'm saying the environments that I'm in are not necessarily conducive to me waking up, because I am here to wake up and I have to have some downloads. So today, this is the download that is coming through from Father, Mother, the universe. But yeah, anyway, I hope I make sense. And I'll probably carry on with something else next time, maybe pick up on the same topic. Okay.